Do you ever lose an entire document and then you have to open Word to find it? Word. I feel like a 40-year-old at a doctor's office. No, I will not sip. That is fresh. It is warm. Let's see. Are you focusing? You are focusing. For once. I'm trying to work off of like bullet points and stuff with this script, but it's we'll glaze over the fact that I haven't uploaded for, what, 2 years? Today I'm going to talk about my new camera setup with like the hopes and aspirations that I can help out some fellow brothers and sisters who are like broke as fudge and help them with their like setup wants and wishes like mine. I'm just going to go through like what I did and how I got my setup on kind of a budget. I'm going to put a disclaimer here just to say if you're looking for a setup kind of like this, like, you know, with a big camera as your webcam, like a DSLR or a mirrorless camera or whatever, you're gonna have to spend money. I know a lot of people, they watch these sorts of videos and they expect to spend literally nothing. That's not gonna be this video. When I say on a budget, I'm gonna go out on a whim and say under £1,000 for me. So let's say under $1,200 US. In comparison to the setups you can get, that's budget. The bullet points, I'm gonna do timestamps and put them in the description. But basically we're gonna go with why, my budget, the research that I did, what I settled with, and my results. We'll move on to the why I got the setup, why I decided I needed an upgrade. Essentially, I wanted this upgrade for both streaming on Twitch and for making videos on YouTube. The Logitech C920 has pretty much been my best friend since 2013, I think. I bought it secondhand from eBay, and it came, you know, in a scruffy box, and someone had already used it and the cable was sticky. And I liked this webcam so much that actually I purchased a second one to put in my kitchen. Then I ran into that really weird problem where if you run 2 Logitech webcams at the same time from the same PC, you can't edit the settings on one of them, but you can on the other, and you have to unplug it, and it's a mess. I also really miss doing photography. I used to do a lot of photography back in the day. She says, 25. I mean, 10 years ago, around 10 years ago, I literally used, I remember my mum had this like tiny little pink hand, like point and shoot camera, and that's what I started on. I moved up to a Lumix G2 back, like way back in 2010. My family bought it for me for Christmas, and I used that until about 2 years ago. I actually recorded a lot of my older videos on that, and it served me well. After that, I mainly used my phone or my... Where is he? Where is he? There he is. There he is. Or I used my Canon G7X, my Mark 1, which I got off of eBay for £100. I liked the Canon G7X for vlogging because it has the image stabilization, so I still use that for vlogging, but I use that for everything. So my photo sets, my vlogs, everything. So I kind of felt like it was time to step things up. I've been doing this for a really long time. I've only been streaming for 2 years, but I have been doing content creation for... Does blogging count as content creation? If so, like 10 years. I wanted to find a camera as cheap as possible. In the beginning, I was prepared to spend about £1,000 or 1,200 USD, maybe 1,300. Yeah, I have to convert it. I'll convert it. It will be like here. And I was prepared to spend that just on the body of the camera, nothing else. Then I kind of realized that I am actually broke. So that's when I started looking at bodies that were around 500 new. It was still steep for me, but it was doable. So with that in mind, I did my research. I did as much research as possible. I will tell you of the flaws and the trials and tribulations of my research later on. Like I said before, I had the Lumix G2 beforehand, and I really didn't want to step away from the Micro Four Thirds market because I already had a couple of lenses for my G2, which if I stayed with Micro Four Thirds, I could use on my current camera. That being said, I looked into like the go-to YouTuber / streamer camera, which is the Canon Rebel T7i or the 800D for people in the UK, I think. Brand new, it was retailing for about £680 on Amazon. Which I Or it was £750 on Canon's website with the kit lens. On Amazon it was $680 without the lens, so you would have to then buy a lens. It was slightly cheaper secondhand. I was finding it for around £400 or £500. I actually found a bundle as well with tons of lenses and just loads of stuff for £800. So after a lot of research, I watched a lot of reviews and stuff. I found that the one con that people were saying about the 800D was that it only shot up to 1080. I thought this was strange because most new cameras shoot in 4K. I thought, while I don't have 4K monitors or anything, I wanted the option to shoot in 4K. One, for if the situation arises that I can produce and render 4K, I don't need to upgrade. And two, I like to downscale. I think it looks nicer. So I went back to the drawing board and I realized there was an option I hadn't considered before, which was buying an older camera. Many a year ago, like 5, there was a camera I wanted as an upgrade to my trusty, rusty, and now ever so dusty G2, and that was the GH4. I remember trying to get finance on this when I was like 19, but I had really bad credit, so I got declined and I walked away like all sad and crying. Anyway, 5 years later, I am old, so I can get the credit now. I got my credit cards, you know. So I was expecting this camera to be around the same price as the 800D, mostly because of the fact it's still incredibly relevant. It shoots in 4K, it still performs remarkably well. Despite the GH5 being released, this still seems like it's widely used for filmmakers. I got one in pretty much almost immaculate condition, secondhand on eBay, and I did see them going for about £325. Or as little as just the body, no lens. The downside that seems to affect the GH4 is that it has a small sensor. Apparently that's the same for a lot of Lumix cameras, if not all of them. So to combat this, people use something called a speed booster. I'm not very intelligent, so I think it's like a thing that they use to trick the sensor into thinking it's bigger than it actually is, like some people I know. So it lets in more light and acts as an adapter to a Canon lens or a Nikon lens, or, you know, whatever you choose as the mount thing. This is where I did do a little bit of research on, you know, pricing and stuff. The speed booster I looked at is a Metabones extra large 0.64 times Canon EF to Micro Four Thirds speed booster. That was going to set me back by about £300 to £400 used, or about $430 brand new. That was the cheapest that I could find it, but I did see them going up to like 600 or something, so I was like, no. I decided to chance it and thought, like, realistically, I'm sure there's a way around it. Otherwise, Lumix wouldn't, you know, the Lumix cameras wouldn't be so popular. And I can't see a situation where I'm going to be shooting that much at night. Not with this camera. I would, if I was vlogging at night, I would use my Canon, which actually doesn't perform very well in low light. And, you know, even if I do, I can just tape a flashlight to my camera. It'd be fine. My streaming setup is equipped with 2 ring lights anyway, and I have daylight bulbs in this room, in the living room, so I don't know, I didn't really need it for what I wanted to use the camera for specifically, which was videos and, you know, like YouTube videos and streaming. I didn't really need it. After assuring myself of the fact that I didn't actually need this like really expensive thing, I decided to convince myself that I needed this other expensive thing, and wounded my credit card even more by purchasing a lens. Here's where my research kind of got a bit muddled, and actually it was just my lack of knowledge on cameras. I decided to purchase a Sigma 30mm f1.4 lens. I did look into this secondhand, but unfortunately there actually weren't any for sale. So I put myself at the mercy of Amazon and I picked one up for about $250. It arrived on the same day as the camera itself, so I got to try it out straight away, and I was very surprised. As you can see, it's quite nice. With the 1.4 f-stop, you can get this really nice blurry background while keeping, you know, the person in focus. This makes it actually quite a popular lens, I think, for portrait shooters, which is actually the reason why I didn't send it back. You can't see, but the camera is like incredibly far away from me right now. And it has to be, because it's a 30mm. And what I should have done was get 14 or like a 7 or something, like a much, much lower focal length. That's where my research kind of got a bit messed up. So when you're looking for lenses, make sure, if you want a wide angle shot, if you want a shot like this and you have the space for it, then go for it. But I would recommend getting something that's more, wide angle. Don't worry about the f-stop. It's fine. If you don't want the blurry background, then you're kind of set. You can just get a kit lens and you'll be fine. So this is what I settled on. We'll do like a little recap and add up everything. That'll be interesting, painful. So to recap, my setup currently consists of a Lumix GH4 camera, a Sigma 30mm f1.4 lens. The actual camera is hooked up to a dummy battery, which connects to the main power thingy plug socket thing. I also connected that to the Elgato Camlink 4K, connected with a micro HDMI to an HDMI cable straight into the back of my PC. I didn't have a tripod at the time of doing this research, so I will add that onto here as well, because obviously I now have a tripod. $400 for the camera body, $250 for the lens, £19.66 for the dummy battery, £115.44 for the Camlink 4K. This was slightly discounted due to the fact I got it on the Prime Day sales. And lastly, £9 for the mini micro HDMI thingy to a standard HDMI cable, totaling £794 and 10 pence. On a serious note, I'm really happy with how it turned out. I haven't had the chance to try it out on stream yet. Maybe by the time of this video releasing, I will have had a chance to do that. It's given me an opportunity to review a lot of the components that made up this thing, So yeah, I'm happy. I don't regret getting it. I think that's a good thing. The conclusion that I came to is that you could probably get this stuff a bit cheaper than me if you shop around. Maybe not by much. People who sell things secondhand tend to know the value of what they're selling. I'm a dumbass and I'm probably going to be in debt for the next 18 years because of this. I'll leave links to everything that I bought in like the description box below. Some things won't be there on account of the fact they're not being made anymore. They're not sold by Amazon. If that is the case, then I will just list the thing that I searched for in eBay or whatever. Yeah, so I'll just do my best, That's all anyone's trying to do. They're just trying to do their best in this world. But yes, I'm really happy, and I hope that you enjoyed my first video back. I don't know how to end videos.